Welcome back to the Daily News Network, time for Business Champions. I'm Brian Sexton, and today we're talking about connections. And we have David Homan from Orchestrated Connections who joins us now. David, what does it mean to orchestrate a connection?
So I'll tell you, I'm a composer and no one listens to my classical music, but I found my lane. And that lane was the same way you find the resonance for people to enjoy something that you perform or you write. When you truly orchestrate a connection, it's about finding that resonance between two people that will not just light a spark, but last so long that the ripple effects from that can be felt often for years to come.
So how does orchestrated connecting work?
Here's what I found.
Community work.
Every conference. So I designed a community around the people who design communities, who run networks, who run businesses. In most cases, everyone in my network used to think of themselves as the most connected person they'd ever met. And I always laugh and I say, you are? I just have 2,200 of you now. I realized that the world works in these ecosystems, and everyone is a tiny bucket that connectors are masters of. You may have yours in sports, and everyone I know growing up in Gainesville, Florida, who's heard you announce for years and years. And there might be a different one in the bubble I grew up with coming from Gainesville to New York related to your network, but we've only met now by happenstance because of what we both do. But as we explore that, we will then figure out that somebody I knew growing up with could benefit your show in the future, but only when you connect with intent amongst the people who are often so well connected and so well attuned to connection that they first think, let me see how to help you. And then in my network, because this is an ecosystem play, I'm connecting massively connected, successful people to each other on a daily basis, primarily around impact, meaning to help make the world a better place.
A couple of things you said stood out. Impact, obviously, is one. The other is intent. And I think people get into a LinkedIn or they get into a social network with maybe a very slight focus or mindfulness about why they're there. And as we all know, I mean, we can easily be chasing squirrels all over the internet. It sounds to me like what you've created is a very specific micro social network for like-minded people who are trying to create a network. Is that kind of the right way to say it?
Right way to understand it, except for the way I look at my network is I sit every day thinking of the insanity of the people that I connect to and with. I was on a media podcast the other month, and I asked that podcaster what they needed, and they said their dream was to interview Serena Williams. I smiled, knowing at the very least I can get that asked to her. There was a previous segment I was listening in before I joined you, where these two incredible vets talked about doing an interview with General David Petraeus, who called me the connector in chief, because my world is building out authentic, trusted relationships, but at a really high scale. Not that I was born with any of this. The skill set really is to understand that all these ecosystems of power have one to several people who are trusted within them. And the more you connect those trust makers at scale, you get insane access, but leveraged for the right purpose, as opposed to a selfish or transactional one.
David, how do you keep track of it all? I mean, when you hear the name General Petraeus, or Serena Williams, how do you know where to go? How do people who are part of what you do at Orchestrated Connecting take advantage of your skill set, which now appears quite massive?
So what most people I would call natural givers, we're really good at figuring out what other people need. We're really bad at asking for ourselves. And I found this true now for a decade of running my global community. And so I created something called the Impact Ask. This was the hack to get people to ask with intention and purpose. Simplest version, what's your passion? How can it be amplified? And then to be very specific and granular with the type of connections you need to move it forward. People ask too vaguely. In the end, the more we know about what we need and the more we can express it for a greater goal than just our own needs, the more people can resonate with this and therefore pattern match to go, yes, this is the type of person you should talk to, or that's my brother's best friend. And the more specific, the better the outcome. The more outcomes matching asks to each other, the more powerful one's network becomes.
So who are the best candidates to engage with you at Orchestrated Connecting? How do people come to be a part of your trusted network?
I came up with the code, Brian, 10 years ago that hasn't changed. To be in my community, which I do not monetize, no membership fees, sponsorship. I do events at cost now on a global scale. You had to be called an action-oriented, natural giver that I would leave my children with. And that's the code to be in it. What I found is everyone can be a connector. We just need to think beyond ourselves and approach the world and approach people with curiosity and vulnerability, and have enough gratitude with how we react to what they offer us to offer back more in return.
It seems like this process could just keep going and going and going. And I just can't help but think, David, that what you're doing is making the world a better place, one connection at a time.
One connection at a time to each city, each ecosystem. I now have a book coming out about this entitled Orchestrated Connection, just to stay on point with my brand, and a startup launching called Soar Connect to systematize this. But in the end, that ripple effect is indeed what I believe we can do to make the world a better place. We can think of ourselves as each one small actor in the larger play of life. But when we build purposeful community, collections of people who have a larger goal together, that's when movements start and the world changes. But it takes now, I believe, a very express intent and to really build a diverse network in order to achieve this type of success.
Such an amazing concept. And for 10 years, you've obviously built something that is intriguing. If people want to learn more, where should they go? How do they find out more about what you've been working on?
I've made myself easy to find. My email, my cell phone, you can find out my kids' names, all of that. Orchestrated Connecting is the community. Any variation of that on my LinkedIn or socials, I lay it all out there. I want people to understand that if we act in a way that makes relationship value values, we then turn the world into something that is what we put, honestly, all of our time and our money into, which is the power of trusted relationships.
Man, it is so easy to be impressed by everything you have just said. I can't wait to learn more. And I hope you'll come back and share some more stories with us.
I would love to. I've been an avid fan and follower of yours for quite some time. I grew up as a Florida Gator. It's where my dad taught. And I spent most of my life wanting to be an athlete until I realized I was a fourth-tier jock. And as a composer who played piano and shouldn't play soccer or rugby or baseball in any professional capacity, my world was figuring out how to excel. That became the one thing I used to be really, really bad at, which was building friendships and building community. I've turned it into a superpower so that I can help more people, help new ecosystems of connections.
Listen, you at least could play the piano and do something. I could just talk because I wasn't an athlete either, though I tried. Superpower, to say the least. David Homan, Orchestrated Connecting. I can't wait to further this conversation. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
That'll do it for this edition of Business Champions here on the Daily News Network. We'll see you next time.
BizBuy Pro supports individuals through the acquisition process in many ways. First and foremost, we can find a business for you. You come to us and you give us the parameters geographically, size, like maybe 2 million in revenue, and maybe an area you want to be a plumbing contractor, and we'll go find that for you. I think really the most important thing from BizBuy Pro is after you find that business, working through the valuation, how much you're paying for it. As I always say, you don't make money when you sell, you make money when you buy.